Warm and cold spots.
It's got to be a mix of spring water.
Yeah. The cold's got to be spring water, or at least mountain fed, water.
Say something.
I love you.
I love you too.
It's beautiful. This is the famous Blue Lagoon.
Oh.
Or at least, I don't know if it's this exact spot. I think it is though.
Woo, it's cold.
That's what they claim. You have like warm, really warm, and then really cold.
I think the warm is seawater and the cold is spring water.
Which hurricane it was it, I wonder? But yeah, we finally get confirmation they do get hurricanes.
Someone told us there were no hurricanes here. We found it hard to believe.
Didn't make sense at all. I mean, maybe they don't get as many hurricanes. Maybe that's the whole point. Hi. Hello everybody, this is a beach called Winifred Beach. It is close to the Blue Lagoon. We got some pictures and video of that a couple, an hour ago. Now we're at this place called Winifred Beach. This is a local beach which is free. A lot of the local beaches are not free. A lot of them cost, well, they have a price for tourists and they have a price for locals, or it's just free for locals and cost for tourists. One of the places we were wanting to go is called Frenchman's Cove. If you look at it on Google Images, it looks gorgeous. Not too different from this, but we heard it was somewhere between $7 and $10 per person to go there. We were like, no thanks, we're not used to this pay for beaches thing, so we'll go to the free beach. Every single person here in Jamaica is also trying to sell you something. A lot of people selling knickknacks, handmade jewelry, marijuana, what else? Rides. They want to be your guide. So we've gone to a couple places that are free places, and we've had people immediately being like, hey, let me show you around. I'll show you where to sit. I'll show you where to go. And it's become all too obvious what they're looking for, which is just money. I mean, their money is tourists. They're pretty poor people, actually. It's kind of sad. But they're free.
Today we went to the Blue Lagoon and to Winifred Beach here, that's close to Port Antonio. It was really pretty, really liked the Blue Lagoon, but we put my phone in a dry bag and that dry bag happened to be leaking. It was fine, it was sealed from the top, but I guess a hole had manifested on the bottom of the dry bag, and my phone got wet, some money got wet, some credit cards, but it's the phone that did some damage, so our cab driver took us to find some rice. So my phone's sitting in a bag of rice right now. Hopefully it'll work. Anyways, after that we made our way to Winifred Beach and had a really nice time there. We spent a lot of time in the water and it was just the perfect temperature. It's so hot today. And after we left the beach, we left my phone in the shade because it was a long walk from this beach to the street. And we left my phone and took a cab back to Port Antonio for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes, and realized that we left my phone in the shade, or somewhere close to the shade. I had put it down so it would get some sun and hopefully bake out some of the water. And had to rush back to get a cab back to Winifred Beach, and we couldn't find a cab. We have had no problems finding route taxis along the way, but this time it took at least 5 minutes for us to find a route taxi. And
like 4 of them passed us and were full or not taking customers.
so we ended up finding our way back, and it was still there, thank goodness. I think it really helped that it looked like nothing more than a bag of rice, and it was kind of out of the way, so no one ended up picking it up, and we were able to get back to Port Antonio, and here we are back at this little homeless shelter that we're staying at. It's a little better than a homeless shelter.
I think that we're both ready to leave Jamaica. We've spent, I think this is day 13 that we've been here. We've seen a lot, and we've really, truly enjoyed our time here. But we're getting a little bit tired of the hustling. It's been worse in Port Antonio and in Ocho Rios, our last 2 towns in Jamaica. They're more touristy places, so the hustlers are, in force. They're everywhere. And literally, like, it's everyone. Not everyone, I take that back. That's really unfair to say everyone. There's a lot of hustlers. There's a lot of people trying to sell you goods, a lot of salesmen. There's a lot of good people, too. I mean, we've had some taxi drivers that have just tried to screw us out of some money, but we've gotten pretty wise about that and really cut a lot of that out. We've had other taxi drivers that we're like, wow, he didn't charge us any more than that. Because you don't talk about the ride when you get in a taxi. I mean, we have at times been jumping in and being like, okay, we're going here. Is it going to be this amount? Is it going to be that amount? But in general, everyone gets in. You say where you're going, or you just yell stop when you get where you're going, if you know where you're going. We've been taking local taxis everywhere. They're called route taxis, and they run the same route over back and forth. So there's a taxi, a bunch of taxis that go straight from Port Antonio to past Winifred Beach to the other side to another beach called Long Bay, and Boston Beach are on the other side. And in between is Blue Lagoon and Winifred Beach, and they just make that same route he said he makes it about one full trip an hour, and he does it about probably 8 trips a day.
It would cost a couple dollars per person.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
It's anywhere between, U.S. equivalent, it would be anywhere between 75 cents and like $2.50. Depending on where you want to stop along the way. To go all the way to one end would be about $2.50 US. But that's in a route taxi. Again, this is the local taxis. There's all these taxis that are trying to flag you down and trying to get you to jump in, and some of them are route taxis, but they're trying to get to take people off route, because in some of these towns, some of the local attractions, like we did the Blue Hole, right? So you can't get to Blue Hole on a local taxi. There's no route that goes that full way. We got really lucky. We found a driver that took us there and picked us back up, and he did it for probably about, it was probably $4 per person per way, which almost everybody was trying to get us to pay like $40 US to do the round trip. So this was like more than half, or less than half the price. Anyway, long story short, we're getting tired of all the people, just constantly. They see us and they think that we have money. Number one, we are tourists, and they associate tourists with money. Especially, I think, for some reason, it seems like white and Asian seem to be triggers. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe that's just in my head. But certainly when they find out we're American, their dollar signs start going off in their head.
Yeah.
And they, we've gone to places where we know that a lot of these places, they have a local price and then they have the tourist price. And a lot of the places we're going, we're trying to avoid the typical tourist places. So we're going to a lot of places where there's not a lot of tourists to begin with. But we know that we're paying more than the locals. It's okay. it's maybe 50 cents or $1 more for a meal, or maybe 50 cents more for a beer or something like that.
Some of the parks, I think they're charging double. So the parks that we went to today, the beach and the lagoon, they were supposed to be free to get into, but we were getting hustled. People were asking to make a contribution for helping cleaning up the beach and whatnot. So for sure they see us and they see money, and we saw this in Cuba, we saw it here. It's tiring because we're budget travelers and we just don't have a lot of money. We're trying to make this last a year.
Yeah, we're trying to make our money last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's different from being vacationers who are here for 2 weeks, where at the end of the 2 weeks we go back to our jobs, and if we overspent our budget for that 2 weeks, we could save more when we got back home and we'd have more income coming back in. We have no income, so our money has to last at least a year. We want it to last longer if possible. So they just don't quite get that. And I was telling Janice, there's no way that we can convince them that we aren't rich, right? Unless we actually get to know the people, and the people that we've gotten to know, they've been really cool. The people that it's just a casual, service or a quick thing, there's literally no way that we can convince them that we don't have money. We're tourists from the United States. No matter what we say, no matter how many times we say we're poor or we're traveling, they're seeing dollar signs, and they're trying to get more out of us. And like I said, it's not fair to say that everyone's doing it, but we've seen it enough to where we're a little bit tired of it now. We're ready to move on. We're hoping that Ecuador's not as bad.
We're thinking of growing his beard longer and his hair a little bit longer to look a little more homeless, and maybe putting some holes in my clothes.
We're literally talking about how can we make ourselves look more homeless, poorer, because I don't think I'm dressed, with I got on, flip-flops and swim trunks and a t-shirt. Janice, kind of same stuff. She's just swim trunks. We're not wearing fancy clothes. Now, the problem I think we have noticed is that we're walking around with iPhones, and we went to the Blue Hole with a GoPro. So when they see that kind of stuff, they're like, oh yeah, these people definitely have money. For the record, the GoPro was given to us as a gift. We didn't pay for it. Thanks, William. So, yeah. Anyway, that's all for now.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.